it's actually, if we have already some mental problems, like we all have just good old mental problems, worries, maybe some depression sometimes, fear, anger, attachment, different kind of states of mind that we don't like them, but they're just there. Boredom, what have you. Well, the busier our life is, the harder it is to actually make some changes. And popping a pill, well, that helps for a while, but the problem is, of course, they have often side effects. And sometimes we need to take a pill if there's some chemical imbalance, sure, but oftentimes it's just a temporary solution, and wouldn't it be better to deal with the problem itself? To look at the mind, get to know our mind better, and check what's going on. Look at the actual origin of the problem. Just as when you take a car, right? When there's a problem with the engine, you're not going to wash your car to make it look better. I mean, what you're going to do is you're looking at where the problem is. You're not cleaning it, you're not changing the tire if the engine isn't working properly. Actually going at the issue, you're opening, looking at what you do. I don't know, I've never opened that part of the car, but whatever you do to look inside, what's wrong with it, right? Ask someone and then possibly learn to do it yourself. You get at the problem, you're not scared of it. It's just a car, it's just a mind, right? Let's look at it. Okay? It may feel scary. How scary can it be? How scary can a thought be? Oh, my neighbor had a thought. I'm just totally overwhelmed. It's like not going to happen. In the end, they're just thoughts and different emotions. And the way to find out what's the issue, you look at it. Right? Another word, fancy word for that is mindfulness. Be mindful of your own mind. So let's look at the problem. At where it started. It comes from their own mind. My own mind. My neighbor doesn't feel like that. My friend doesn't feel like that. I feel like that. So it comes from my own mind. Let's look at my own mind. How interesting is that? But to do that, we need a certain degree of calm. So usually I say, well, maybe if we want to pursue this further, maybe we can make our life a little bit calmer, less noisy. So some people, they have constantly like a radio running or TV running, or just need to be entertained all the time. Maybe to just kind of stop doing that. Maybe just for the period of those 2 days here. Okay? If you're here just for a day, or if you're here for 2 days, maybe just spend the day and tonight not watching hours and hours. Or maybe even just be silent. Just bring more silence into your life. But what is also really important is, if in general you want to apply this, to live a life of not harming yourself and others, because that calms the mind already. Right? It calms the mind already. So to be kinder to yourself and others, that's one way definitely, but that takes time, so over the long term. But really just to bring more calm into our life. Okay? All right. The reason being that if we want to look at our mind, at what is the I, what is going on around us psychologically, well, it's a bit like, I use a Tibetan example. If you have, like, let's say you have this beautiful room with lots of wall painting. Beautiful wall painting. But if you've never been in that room, there's no light in there. Right? There's no light. It's a dark room because no one ever goes in there. It's just got paintings all over, so there's no light in, no natural light. So you have to burn a candle to see it. Okay? Now, if that candle is like wisdom. Okay? You burn a candle, that's like our own wisdom that we all have. Okay? That can be more developed, but we all have wisdom to a certain degree, but it can be enhanced through the right methods. But if that candle moves back and forth, here, there, here, there, here, there, how much are you going to see of that beautiful painting around? Not going to see much. So it needs to be stable. That is focus. That is one-pointedness. Okay, that is like concentrated. Being able to stay with a certain object of the mind for some time before going, what's for dinner, what's for breakfast, what did she say? Oh, I need to do this, I need to take out the garbage, I need to kind of go, right? There's multitasking, which is really basically like just going from one to the next, which is fine in the appropriate time, but there are times when we just need to be more focused. Because then, to watch our own mind, what's going on, it's like the candle when it's still. So still, and then you look around with that calmness. Okay? So if you check out in chapter 8, it's the chapter on focusing your own mind, and there's a quote by a great meditator. Right? It can all be like that, actually. It's like, oh, these great meditators, I'm over here, they're over there. But actually, what this meditator has accomplished, we could all do if we just created the causes and conditions. So he says, let distractions melt away like clouds disappearing in the sky. Beautiful analysis, because our mind is like the vast sky, and then disruptive thoughts, they're just like clouds. You know, they may look like scary dragons, but they're just clouds. So the analysis of our thoughts, our emotions, they look scary possibly, but that's just because we're scared of them. We're scared of the fear. We're fearful of the fear. But actually, when it's there, it's just like a cloud. It's just a thought. And when you look at it, it loses that heaviness, that scary nature. You're just looking at it. So your own mind looks at certain other minds. Okay, just getting to know them. So that's very much part of analyzing what the self is. Because the self is basically, when you think of it, is the thought I. It's consciousness thinking I. Right? So far, that's how far right now, there's just a sense of an I. Right? There's a sense of me, but it's not like there's like a certain color or something you can kind of touch with your hand, like this is I. No, it's really just the mind perceiving I. So what's that mind? It's important to get a sense of it. So here, what the Lama says is that it's important to analyze, to remain focused. Okay? So to see ourselves, in order to see ourselves who we really are, this is important. Okay? Now, one thing I meant to say anyway, if during this time we have here together, if already you read the book, you may already have questions. So please keep those questions ready. There'll be a time to address those. If you don't have questions right now, maybe you can read the book. I don't know whether you can finish it over the weekend, but maybe some chapters that may interest you or you found difficult anyway. And then look at some of the passages that you feel like need explanation, and I'll be happy to answer those. I meant to say that at the very beginning. Okay? Because what I want to do, like last year I gave a more overall explanation, but this time I want to make this book more accessible so that when you read it, you don't go, what? I get somewhere lost, because it's incredible. It's really like a summary of everything that Buddhism talks about when it comes to the I. Very important topic. Really difficult. The Dalai Lama did such a great job to actually put it forth in the way in which he's still talking about these difficult ideas, but putting them forth in a relative simple way. Okay. So that's why I would like you, if you have the interest, to look at the passages you find difficult. You have the opportunity to ask now. Of course, you'll have other opportunity in other courses, in other meditation retreats, and you have many of them in Israel to ask. But anyway, just in case you come across something, you're welcome to ask. So I've noted a few parts that I thought needed some explanation. So, okay, our mind is scattered, and when it's scattered, it's not powerful, like a laser beam. Why is it so powerful? Because it's bundled, right? It's bundled. It's like, because there's so much energy bundled together. I don't know much about laser beams, so forgive me, but that's my limited understanding of it. But because it's all bundled together, that makes it more powerful. Like water, right? If water is kind of like when you shoot out water, if it goes all over, it doesn't have much power. If the water is all bundled together, it becomes very focused, very powerful. That is also true for the mind. it's very focused. When you think about something, it can break through a lot of misperceptions. Very, very important, that kind of focus. All right, so it gives this explanation here again of a lamp in a dark place, same analogy. And so it's saying that what we have right now is only our present mind, and we must pull together the capacity of this mind by way of concentration. Okay? So focusing, therefore, is very important, and we're aiming for a state that's called calm abiding. To calm the mind, to calm it down so it's not that distracted, and for it to abide or remain on one object for a longer period of time, for as long as we want to, basically. Okay? So therefore, in having done this, having made the mind calmer, not only can you remain with one object for longer, the mind becomes more flexible, more usable. You can use it like a tool. You want to think about this, you think about it. Okay? So you're really able to use it as this effective tool. We're already using it all the time, but even more effectively. And there are some obstacles to, the Dalai Lama talks about what is the obstacle to being more focused? Well, distraction, of course, thoughts here and there and everywhere. There's another obstacle, which is like a sense of heaviness of the mind, right? Kind of like, almost like a sleepy, sluggish state of mind. That's also an obstacle. But there are also what they call 3 types of laziness. I don't even know laziness is the best translation in English. Because we think of laziness as in like, I don't want to, I'm comfortable, I don't want to do this, right? That's what we think of as laziness. But here laziness means more than that. It is that as well, it's one type of laziness. I don't want to do it now, I'll do it tomorrow, right? Procrastination. I'll do it some other time. Oh, I'll focus. I'll be all right. Next week I'll focus more. Not today. Today I'm just really... okay. Well, for one day that's fine. But if we keep doing that, that's a problem. And then another procrastination is just enjoying just kind of disruptive thoughts. Oh, I don't want to focus. I'm really feeling good being angry right now. Or I just want to just run after my desires and never mind. Like being happy with like disruptive thoughts, with negative kind of thoughts, enjoying them in a sense. And the more negative or harmful these thoughts are, actually by their nature they disrupt our mind. And then there's another one, another laziness, but again, it's a little hard to call it laziness. Feeling I cannot do it. I can't do this. Self-deprecating. Kind of a self-deprecating attitude. I cannot do that. That's a huge problem. To think I cannot do this. That's usually the main obstacle. So, anyone can do this. The Lama can do it. We can do it. We all have the basic ingredients of this, same ingredients of our own mind. Our mind, on a basic level, all works the same way. And we can train the mind in a way that right now we may think it's impossible. The mind has so much potential, much more potential than the body. The body's limited. It can do certain things, but it has a limit. When you jump up, there's a certain limit how high you can go. Right? Every year, maybe a person jumps a little higher, okay, but at some point we just use the limit, and I don't think you can go further and further and further, unless you make some profound changes to the body. But the mind, limitless. What the mind can do, limitless. This sounds bizarre. Limitless in the sense, if you have love, okay, love for a person, you love them, you really want them to be happy. It's not like when you then love a second person, it's only 50% of your love is left. No. 100% you love this person, and another 100% you love the other person. It actually just grows. So if you have children, right, it's not like you have one child, 100% love. Second one, sorry, first one, now I've only second left for you. Like, you know, like a dough spread thin when you make cookies, right? I'm terrible at making cookies. But, you know, I make it too thin, and thinner, and then, right? Okay? So our love is not like that. It's not like cookie dough. The more you spread it out, the thinner it gets. No. Actually, our mind is able to love another person like unconditionally, just wanting them to be happy. Even if they don't repay you, it doesn't matter. As long as this person is happy, okay. And then you have it towards another person, and another person, another person. If you have 10 children and you love them unconditionally, right? Your love just expands. So in Buddhism it's said that the mind can love everyone. Everyone can do it. Can do it. It can wish for everyone to be happy. Okay? And why do we talk about it? Because it feels so good. It feels so good. It helps us. It helps us a lot to have that kind of mind. We may not always act on it. Someone inappropriately acts. We need to still be like, no, that's not enough. Must be, okay, enough. But nonetheless, that feeling, you can have it for everyone because the mind has no limits, not like cookie dough, right? Or like us jumping. Very important idea in Buddhism. So to understand that, the sense of, I can't do it, at some point won't arise. Sky's the limit. That kind of idea, okay? So, therefore, here, we need to limit our activities, the Dalai Lama says, just to have more time. And to tell you something, when the meditators, in Buddhism, there are a lot of meditators, they start off their meditation by, and this sounds terrible to you, sounds terrible, doing nothing. Doing nothing. Have you ever had a day where you were like, I didn't do anything? Sometimes it feels good, but sometimes you feel like, oh no. Okay, a week, we can do a day, but a week, 2 weeks, right? We have this urge to accomplish something. And the thing is like, of course we need to. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do things, but we often do them for the wrong reasons. And often also what we do is like, we're not able to let go. We have to be productive, okay? And so there's a constant urge, I need to be something, I need to be better, I need to have done. So even I've done a lot all day long, if I don't have a result, I feel dissatisfied. Right? That keeps our mind, again, like, there's no freedom in the mind, because we always need to do something. Okay? So again, to many of the meditators, what they do is first just do nothing. But being observant, of course, just being mindful. So doing nothing is really not literally allowing your mind go everywhere, because that's not doing nothing. That is doing something. But just watching, just observing. Okay? So in the end, it's not like you're not doing anything, but just also sometimes to be okay to not have accomplished something. So Buddhism talks a lot about accomplishing this, accomplishing that, but it needs to be put in a context. This is a translation, not what the Dalai Lama says, but not in this book, but there are a lot of Buddhist books, they were taught to Tibetans who are not like us. They're very laid back. Very laid back. Right? In Tibet, traditionally, nowadays it's changing, but the traditional life in Tibet was like, you got up, you did your thing, what you had to do, and then you just sat there and watched the yaks, etc. Right? I mean, a lot of life was just that. Okay? Just nomads up out in the mountains, being pretty much on their own. So then, come on, get your act together. At times it was like, well, you need to do something. Use this mind, use it in a positive way. Right? So that's how often the language here comes across. But I think it's also really important to check, am I obsessive about accomplishing something? Or am I also okay to just let go? Just to allow myself to be with myself, just watch my breathing, just do nothing. And in that way, I actually learn to focus more, become more concentrated, become calmer and more concentrated. Does that make sense? So that's what the 8th chapter is all about. Reduce coarse distractions. Okay? Initially coarser ones and then subtler ones. Okay. Now, there's something else that he mentions here. It's like, in order to make the mind subtler, you may even take a vow. He mentions taking vows, right? What? Are you kidding me? Isn't it all about being free and letting go, and now you're on top of it, you're taking a vow. It seems to be a little contradictory. But actually, when there are vows, when you take a vow, what you do is you take a vow. For instance, you can be with a person, right? Be with them your whole life. Don't need to get married, as long as you stay together. But we take a marriage vow, right? You take, right? Well, some people take a vow of marriage to make this promise to this person. So actually, you would stay with them anyway, but it strengthens it. You'll be more determined. So there are certain vows. I've taken a number of vows. You as a non-monk or nun, that is like a lay person, could also take some vows. And you make this promise to not do something, to harm. Usually it's about not harming someone. And since you've taken that vow, there's no question, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? No, just no. No decision making on that one. Done. Okay? So like with a marriage partner, actually, that's said to be a vow of morality, to make this promise to always be with this person. In Buddhism, that's also an ethical vow. Because if you keep that vow, right, you're not going to go, oh, maybe with my neighbor, should I? My partner will never find out, so it'll be all right. But no, you take that vow, it's like no question about it. So there's more freedom within that, because you don't have to make a choice. It's just no. So if you really want something terribly, a vow can be restrictive. But if you're like, okay, I see why this makes sense, then you take the vow and you have more freedom within that. And it keeps the mind more focused on what you actually want to do. That's why we take vows. And he mentions it here. Okay. Now, to actually get to the practice of focusing the mind, and we'll do a meditation on that together, once you're good at this, if you can do this, you've done it, good at it, as in like you got used to it, okay? Meditation is just another way of saying you have habituated yourself, you become familiar with it, now it becomes easier. Once you're good at it, you can do it anywhere. Lying down, in the car, right? Even when you're with another person. You're more focused, you're more concentrated. But initially it's good to be in a certain place, to have no distractions around you, or as little as possible. So not to sit in the center of Tel Aviv, preferably, at a crossing or something. Anyway, that'd be weird. But to sit in a certain way, okay, just helps you to sit properly, so you'll know the posture of meditation. Most important that your back is straight. It's just that keeps you alert. There are other reasons too, you can read about them. But anyway, so keeping your arms in a way, that's like a wholeness, right? Whichever way, so that it's like symmetrical, etc. So, certain posture of your arms, your legs. You don't have to sit cross-legged. The chair works just as well. And then, in that kind of the posture of course is not meditation. That's just the external. Your mind is meditating. And then you focus on the breathing. But the Dalai Lama, he starts off with talking about a type of meditation which is said to be very effective. It's the 9 rounds of breathing. 9 rounds of breathing meditation, which is basically a way to very effectively remove disruptions. Okay, so he describes it here. I don't know whether my page numbers are the same. In my book it's 94, but of course in the Hebrew version and even in the English version it may be different, whichever version you have. But it's at the end of chapter 8, towards the end of chapter 8. Let me check, it's a long chapter, kind of at the end of chapter 8. But what you do is, you first start off with, you close your left nostril with your finger and you breathe in through your right nostril. Breathe in deeply 3 times. Deep inhalation, and then inhalation, exhalation. And you do that 3 times, breathing in 3 times, okay, through your right nostril, while closing off your left nostril. I hope you don't have a cold. It makes it much harder. Yeah, I can hear some sniffy noses. But to the best of your ability, okay? And then after three times breathing in and out, you do it the other way around. 3 times in through your left nostril, closing your right nostril. And after 3 times, so 6 times you're done, you do it through both nostrils, 3 times. Okay? And that's said to be, starting off your meditative session, you do this 1 time, so it's 9 rounds of exhalation, inhalation, so 9 rounds of breathing. Then you are able to let go of some of the disruptive... Do you have a chair? Oh, okay. Do you have 9? Maybe you could just... Yeah, sit maybe over here. Yeah. Oh, there, that's fine, yes. So in that way you have 9 rounds, and it just lets go a little bit of these disruptive thoughts. And then you just focus on the breathing again. Should we do that just for a few moments? Okay? So starting off, you just do it at your own pace. I won't say anything. You just do 3 times, however long you take to breathe in, breathe out. Just do the 9 rounds of breathing.